I had come to a point where I had great difficulty accepting even the Bible, because at that time we were told that we had to accept the Bible literally, and I just couldn't take it. That's impossible. You know, that's absolutely impossible. But eventually I found out I was right. You don't have to take and so I said, I'm going to get my degree in Scripture or theology, whichever comes better.
What about the Catholic Church and the threat of hell and the threat of punishment and constant berating of, you know, you're going to be punished. Is that a wrong concept to have in terms of being good Christians and being good Catholics?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You might be a bit surprised. I'm one of the brothers who doesn't believe in hell. Now, I could believe in purgatory. That may be a possibility. You know, that makes some sense. You know, make mistakes and you're correct. Hell is absolutely, in my mind, a contradiction. That it's absolutely impossible. If you're talking about a loving God who created the world and came to redeem us and would send somebody to hell, no matter what. There's human beings, in my judgment, human beings are not gifted enough and not intelligent enough and not meaningful enough to be punished for eternity. That's a contradiction. That's totally, and so I don't believe in hell. I think that's a concept that was introduced around the 13th century. You know, before that it was hardly talked about, but around the 13th, 14th century, when the people were rather ignorant, they wanted to frighten them. And they say, well, if you don't do this, you're going to go straight to hell for all eternity. Now, so obviously some of the uneducated people, they were still worried about ghosts and goblins and whatever. And they said, well, we better shape up and so forth. So that concept, for example, doesn't make sense. But it's been existing. It's been used for so long that I can't even convince my sister that it doesn't exist.
So where are we going to meet up again now that I don't have to worry about going to hell, which I was condemned to do? So what is next? I'm getting there where I start to think about it a lot.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think anybody knows what is next. But I believe, you know, in my concept of response, or what happens at the end of one's life, that suppose through eternity there were 55 billion people. Let's say when the world is going to, let's say there's 55 billion individuals in the world. Well, I'm convinced there will be 55 billion ways of experiencing God's presence at the end of the world. So if we're 55 billion, there'll be 55 billion ways that human beings would experience God's presence. Some more than less, of course. I think the more one is open and the one is most open to being receptive, to that extent, the same thing will happen in eternity, that will be open to God's presence, will enjoy it more. So that there will be 55 different ways of experiencing the eternity, not one bad and one good. That does make sense to me at all.